Hello everyone. Hello. Welcome to Burgundy. Thank you very much for attending this tasting and this presentation of Albéric Bichot wine. Of course, we would have preferred to be physically with you, but this kind of Zoom tasting is better than nothing, of course. First of all, for the newcomers, who are we? May I introduce you my two colleagues, Mathieu Mangenot. Mathieu is our technical general manager, and Christophe Chauvel, who is the estate manager. It means that he takes care of all the vineyards of the Maison Albéric Bichot winery. And myself, Albéric Bichot, in charge of the family winery. Where are we? We are, in fact, in our head office here in Beaune, in the deep heart of Burgundy. It's not a TV studio, it's just our historical room that we have arranged to make this video Zoom presentation possible. What we propose you today, of course, it's a kind of review of the 2021 vintage. I will make a short introduction of the winery, then Mathieu will talk about this fantastic vintage, the 21st vintage. Then we will, after 5-10 minutes, we will start the tasting of 6 wines. These wines, you are supposed to have them with you. When we bottled this fancy and beautiful bottle, the wines were not yet finally bottled, but now it's done. However, the quality you have and the quality we have now in bottle is obviously the same. So it's a kind of tasting en primeur, like we say, not in Burgundy, but in Bordeaux. But it's interesting for us to introduce you this new vintage. At the end of the presentation, if you want, it will be possible for you to ask some question through the chat system of the Zoom. So if you are ready, let's start. So some of you already know the winery, but for the new people, newcomers, like I said, I think it's important to give you some key points of Albéric Bichot. So we are one of the oldest established winery in Burgundy, and I think it's important to tell it. One of the last remaining family-owned winery. We've been established in 1831, so it's almost 2 centuries ago. And I'm honored to represent the 6th generation of the Bichot. Of course, it's too difficult and it's impossible to summarize almost 200 years in 5 minutes. Most important is probably to realize and for me to tell you what we are now in the main aspects of the winery. So basically, we are wine growers for sure. Today we have the chance of owning more than 240 acres all over Burgundy, and we are very lucky to hold 6 different estates, 6 different domains, from the north to the south of Burgundy. Of course, in the north, we start with Chablis, one of the most famous white wine of Burgundy. In Chablis, we have the chance of having the Domaine Long-Depaquit, a quite large estate with very well-known names like Chablis Grand Cru. We are lucky and proud to own 10% of all the Grand Cru of Chablis, with various names like Blanchot, Lépreuse, Vaudésir, and the very famous Mouton. So altogether, we own 6 different Grand Cru. More in the south, we move to La Côte de Nuit. In La Côte de Nuit, we have the Domaine du Clos Frantin estate. This is probably the most famous place in Burgundy. In Domaine du Clos Frantin, we produce very famous wines like Richebourg, Chambertin Grand Cru, Échezeaux Grand Cru, Claude Vougeot Grand Cru, the famous also Premier Cru Vosne-Romanée, les Malconsorts, just close to Latache Grand Cru. Besides, we own also a very unique estate named Le Château Gris, we say it's a monopoly. It's in fact the monopoly of Chateau Gris. We are the sole owner of this tiny and very beautiful chateau where we produce Nuit Saint-Georges, Premier Cru Red, and some whites also. More in the south, we move to La Côte de Beaune in Pommard with the Domaine du Pavillon. There, this domain is only focused on the Côte de Beaune wine, with Corton Charlemagne White, Corton Grand Cru, Volnay Les Centenaux Premier Cru, other wines like Pommard Premier Cru Les Rugiens, le Pommard Clos des Ursulines, Corton Maréchaude, some whites, Meursault, Village Level, Meursault Premier Cru Les Charmes. Then in La Côte Chalonnaise, we have the estate Domaine Adélie in Mercurey, where we produce Mercurey Premier Cru Red, but also some whites. And more recently, almost 10 years ago, we had the chance of purchasing a great terroir in Beaujolais region, in Moulins-à-Vent, with the Domaine de Roche. That's it. So all these estates are completely independent, even if there are Albéric Bichot properties, but they are independent because all of them, they have their dedicated team. So instead of having one big winery with a guru winemaker, we have decided, in fact, many years ago, to vinify the wines where they are produced. Where are the vineyards? La Côte de Nuit, in La Côte de Nuit, Côte de Beaune, in Pommard, etc., as you understood already. And we consider that it's much better to have small teams fully dedicated to their terroir, from the vineyards to the vinification, to the aging, on the bottling. So it's really a domain-driven spirit orientation, which is our philosophy. And besides our own properties, besides our own vineyards, we can also buy grapes from our faithful wine growers all over Burgundy, and we vinify their grapes, the wine, with the same care, of course, as we do for our Domaine wines. This is what we call the négociant, new style, new generation that we really started 25 years ago. So we moved to this system of buying grapes instead of buying the wines in order to better secure our purchase and to be much, how can I say, for the quality of the wine, for the style of wine we really want to do. So all our wines, domains or non-domains, of course, all of them, they are signed Albéric Bichot. You can see on the label, it's Albéric Bichot. But if you want to know more exactly from where it comes, you can see at the bottom of the label if it's a domain, on which domain it comes from. Sorry, I just read I have a paper, you see. I don't want to forget anything. All our wines are signed Albéric Bichot, I told you, but in terms of viticulture, it's important to give you this information, and Christophe will tell more about it. Since 2014, we have been certified officially organic wine for most of our Domains wines. And moreover, we are very much involved in the sustainability of our production. Because in addition to the respect of the soil, of nature, we have other environmental commitments. So some of them, which are relatively new, for example, you see for the corks, all our natural corks come from cork forest that comply with sustainable forest management rules. In terms of glass of the bottle, not all, but 80 to 90% of our glass, our bottles come from recycled glass. In terms of paper, also for the labels, because maybe for those who knew already the Maison Albéric Bichot, we have changed recently the labels. We changed a little bit the design, but also the paper itself. The paper used for our label is 100% cotton, So it is, of course, biodegradable and recyclable. I cannot show you, but also our carton box, they are FSC, so it means exactly Forest Stewardship Council certified, which is an international label which guarantee the wood which complies with sustainable forest management procedures. And so the cartons, they contain exactly at least 92% of recycled material, and they are manufactured using corn starch with glue on the decors. The decoration are made with eco-friendly water-based ink. This is for the Eco Bichot, like we can say. In terms of style of wine or main objective or philosophy, as you like, our real goal, our real target is to try to reveal the identity and the typicity of each terroir. Each plot of each vineyard must be different and is different in the glass. As you may know, the richness and the fame of Burgundy is really based on the diversity of the terroirs, the diversity of the soils, the diversity of identities. Maybe you know, or you may remember, in 2015, the UNESCO has officially classified our 1,247 climates. A climate in Burgundy is, in fact, let's be simple, this is a terroir. So they have been classified as a worldwide heritage of humanity. So for us, it has been a great recognition that really show that Burgundy, the Burgundy treasure, is really the singularity of each soil, each parcel. That's it. Let's start not the tasting, but few words about the vintage 21, Mathieu?
Yes, so a few words about the vintage. Sure, after a series of 3 hot, sunny, dry vintages, I mentioned in 18, 19, 20, the conditions for vintage 21 are undoubtedly considered as challenging. Vintage really requested hard endeavor to really reach the quality we are focusing on, and this hard endeavor was needed as well in the vineyard, but as well in the winery itself. What happened? Everything started of course, in winter with a quite cool winter, followed by a period in March, so this was end of March, between 25th of March and the beginning of April, a period with summer-like conditions. This means the temperature rose up to 77 Fahrenheit, which is quite high for the period. That led to a widespread bud burst. So especially on Chardonnay, you know that Chardonnay needs a bit less temperature to grow and have its bud break compared to Pinot Noir. This period has been followed to just a few days after that by really heavy frost, so the typical winter frost, and the temperature in that case dropped down to between 23 and 21 Fahrenheit, which is really bad for the buds. So several nights between the 5th and the 8th of April with a low temperature that really decimated the buds. You know that the future grapes from the vintage are located inside the bud, so when you lose a bud, you lose your crop 100%. And that's what has affected us between those 3-4 nights of very cold period. The losses have been very high, so despite the system we use to protect the vineyard, so some of them, of course, we cannot protect everything. The losses have been very high for us in our estate, but as well for Burgundy. And it's nearly 50% of the general crop that has been lost. Of course, we had a very wide variety of losses. The white wines have been affected much more than the reds due to the earliest bud break for the Chardonnay compared to the Pinot Noir. So in terms of losses, up to 80% of the whites have been lost, and in average between 35 to 70% of the reds, with also different situation if you are in Chablis or located in Côte de Beaune, in Côte de Nuit.
It was really a drama.
It was a drama, yeah.
To find this kind of loss of so heavy frost. My father told me that we have to be back probably in 1951.
Yeah, 1951, 1991. So yeah, we knew already mid-April, we knew it would be a very, very scarce vintage and that we couldn't do anything against that. So we had to deal with that, go on, work in the vineyards to really keep alive what was remaining. Hopefully the flowering went quite good in June with quite dry and sunny conditions. So this period really helped us to keep everything safe. At the end of June, July and beginning of August, I've seen a quite gloomy, cool weather with quite rainy conditions. So we had really to develop very hard work for our teams in terms of soil ploughing, in terms of spraying, organic practices to take care of the vineyard, and this has been really, really challenging. So we are very, very proud of the teams to have been here day after day, even weekends, to really protect the vineyards, take care of the grapes, but also stick to what we are convinced of, it's organic viticulture. So protect with the arms we have and really stay within the organic program that we are really focusing on. The sun and sunny weather came back at the end of August and the beginning of September, so that's really helped to dry everything, and the maturation take place with a very slow speed. So it was the case for the reds as well as the whites, and we reached the full maturity at the end of September, and we began picking between around the 20th of September for Chablis as well as Côte de Beaune and Côte de Nuit. And it took a bit more time for the Côte de Beaune and Côte de Nuit because the harvest stopped and we finished at the beginning of October. This, I said, it's challenging vintage as well in the winery, of course, very low, very, very low yields. So this gives you also some issues you have to deal with. In terms of tank selection, in terms of vinification, but also we had to be very careful on date of harvest, as well as the sorting to really keep the best part of the fruits and to keep the original fruitiness and the terroir that we are looking for. Of course, vinification, we had to adapt also to this lower yields. Not to over-extract, and that's something that could happen when you are lower quantities in your tanks, to really keep the balance between what the fruit can give you and where you can go in terms of extraction. As a result, of course, so the yields are very low. We will, of course, come back to this, but that's really a fact of this vintage. But the reds show beautiful aromatic profile with delightful aromatic on the red fruit, on the flowers. It's very delicate in general, very delicate. We are speaking of finesse. The tannins are light but very textured, and usually speaking, you've got crispy, bright, an immediate charm in the red, and some silky tannins. The white wines, due to the slow maturation, they offer some citrus aroma, so you are more on the citrus spectrum than a very, very ripe fruit. It's zesty, it's light, it's lively, and with a beautiful savory sapidity. So of course this vintage gave us some difficulties, and I said it was challenging, but the result is nice, I hope you will enjoy it.
So at the end, it's a good surprise.
Yeah, it's a good surprise, and I think, Christophe, the aging has really revealed what this vintage had to give, especially when we finished aging.
I remember 10 months after we discovered the vintage really, and more. Yes, we don't speak about concentration, but we speak about intensity, and the length of the wine and the typicity of the terroir is a lot of people, journalists and tasters, find it very interesting
Yes.
for that.
Yeah, and so after this, odd vintages, I would say 18, 19, 20, we are back to the delicacy, to really the terroir approach. We think and we believe that also the terroir shows well and a bit more in this vintage compared to warmer vintages where sometimes you can flatten a little bit the terroir. So it's very interesting, and Albéric said we are really focusing on the terroir, and that was really one of the vintage that could reveal this.
So some guys, mainly old wine growers, they say this is the perfect classic vintage. Not in terms of volume, you already understood, but in terms of representation, of the precision, the elegance, it's great. And it's okay for you?
Yeah.
Viticulture, Christophe. What have we done in the past 25 years? What are we today?
For the organic purpose, if we make the choice, the decision to practice organic viticulture and to have organic wine on the estate, it's not to have the best method, because nothing is perfect, and we know. So I will not develop all organic viticulture. It's too long, but I will say it costs more. The risk is more important, and you must be very rigorous, and it's not the easiest way. But you can ask me why we choose together. I think for two mainly reasons. First reason, I'm sure it helps to have more precision in terroir wines. You talk about terroir, but I think they are more precise with organic viticulture. Yes, I can talk about the health of people and environment. That's true. That's perhaps one of the first reasons. And the second reason for me and for many people, I think it's with organic viticulture, we have more possibilities to adapt to the climate change. Because we have to take care more, perhaps, to observe more and to adapt always, because organic viticulture is never finished. Each year we learn something new and we have to improve. So I think it's a good way to be more able to adapt for the future. That is.
It's true. Sometimes, or we have the question, do you find your wines are different today than 15 years ago when you were not completely 100% organic? It's difficult to say because to compare, but what we see every day when we taste the wine, as you said, Christophe, is the energy, the vibrancy of the terroir is really present. More and more.
More and more, I think so.
Just to give you a figure, Burgundy today, all of us, all the wine growers, we represent 12% of the vineyards are organically certified. So it's big for Burgundy. It's low if we compare with other countries or other regions. For example, in the south of France, it's quite easy to be organic because they don't have the same disease as we have here.
That's true.
So for us, it's a big challenge, and we like it. We like it, like the wine.
Yes.
Should we start with the first wine?
I think so. So I tasted it before, but I have to introduce first.
Give me the bottle,
so sorry. Yes, it's not only for me. Sorry.
So we start with the
Aligoté, Bourgogne Aligoté, Renard. So first, I feel obliged to talk about Aligoté in general because it's a specific and old variety in Burgundy. In general, a simple wine, less complex and rich than Chardonnay, that's true, with higher acidity in general, with higher production in general too. But the Aligoté from today are very different from the Aligoté we have in the past. And I think it looks that variety looks like able to be more to adapt to the change of the climate. That's why we can talk about Aligoté in the past and today. For me, it's completely different.
Well, the Aligoté 40, 50 years ago, most of them, they were located not in the best places. And it was all very frequently difficult to get the maturation,
the ripeness,
to get the ripeness.
Today is not the case.
But this specific Aligoté from Domaine Adélie is not badly located.
No, it's just at the beginning of the village of Mercurey, and in a soil which is you have a lot of silica in it. So I think it gives something very special for this Aligoté, and that wine is rich enough to be aged one part in barrels. So most of the time, Aligoté has 100% in stainless steel tank. So that's why you can age it one part in barrels, not total. It would be too much, but one part. We practice organic viticulture, like in all the estate in Côte-Chalonnaise, Domaine Adélie, Pavillon. And I have to say that wine were bottled earlier than the other we have to taste, because they were bottled in July, yes, I think, July 22, okay? So, for me, I tasted it before, I think, yes, it's, first thing for me is very perfume, okay? White aromas from white flowers, white fruits too, like peach or things like that. And you have, in mouth, you have big freshness, that's true. And we appreciate it a lot because more and more, some wine are heavy and too fat. We keep freshness, and we are lucky to have freshness in Burgundy. But you have a kind of roundness too. Okay, you have a kind of roundness. So I think it's a mix of freshness and roundness.
Well, well, you can drink it for an aperitif or even with shells or fish. It's great, huh?
I think it's really showing the vintage. You've got this bright and lively acidity. It's very refreshing, and still it's not a common Aligoté. You've got, yes, you mentioned a little bit of very little hint of oak aging that gives another dimension to this Aligoté. And you've got this the savory sapidity that we're going to find in other white wines.
I think it's a wine to drink in friendly situation. So simple. Okay. So
good wines make good friends.
Yes.
In any case.
Simple but good.
Second one is Chablis Premier Cru Fourchaume. So we were at the bottom part of nearly of Côte de Beaune in Mercurey, and we are now heading north in Chablis. So Chablis is 1.5-hour drive north of Beaune, and that's really the beginning of Burgundy as you head south. The soils in Chablis are very specific. Of course, it's clay and chalky soils, but with a very interesting stone that we call Kimmeridgian stones. So it's stones with a lot of oysters. There are dates back from 150 million years ago when there used to be the sea in Chablis. So those combination of a northern climate condition up north, a bit cooler, combined to the type of soils give very interesting characteristic to the Chardonnay there. We are dealing with minerality, with flintiness, with salty character, and that's what we are expecting in this vintage. We are in the Premier Cru level, which is Fourchaume, which is located on the northern part of Chablis. And this Premier Cru has a sunset exposure. It's west exposed, so It gives a tendency to warm quite well. It's really the sun is flashing on the afternoon. It's protected from the winds, from the north winds because of the trees at the top of the hill, and it gives usually things with a quite smooth attack. So that's the case here. You've got a smooth attack, as well as a beautiful white blossom character, and hints of saltiness already. So
yes, on the tongue, you can feel it.
You have it already. So sometimes it takes a bit of time to develop because you've got a very fresh fruit aromas of the vintage that will really come on top of this saltiness. But here you have it already. So again, we are on this zesty, bright character. It's quite rounded, even though. So we are feeling this waste exposure with quite a nice structure. We're going to vinify this partly in oak. It's only 10% oak fermented, so it's of course not openly or obviously oaky, but this will bring some tension and some to support the minerality in this wine. So I think it's really nice. Again, pairs very well with seafood, with oysters, with generally speaking everything that's linked with the sea. And of course, you can have it by itself, again with a bunch of friends as an aperitif. So I think a beautiful wine, and 2021 gives, of course, very scarce Chardonnay and white wines in general. But what's remaining gives really a very nice expression and nice balance between the acidity and the fruit. And I think it's really enjoyable already.
Yes, I think we used to talk about minerality in tasting in general. You have different kind of minerality. With Chablis, it's a minerality we don't find in Côte, with Chardonnay in Côte. It's organic minerality, which we remember the seeds, which we remember. And you have the feeling in the nose and in the mouth too. That a minerality which is mineral and round together. That is very special and typical in Chablis. We don't have on Côte. It's not possible.
So we're gonna jump into the reds right now.
Yes.
Just clean your glasses or have another glass if you want.
Yes, it's Mathieu.
So again, we are taking the car and going south again in the Beaujolais area. So in that case, that's 1 hour south of Beaune by driving by car, and we are in the country of course of the Gamay grape. So that the biggest difference, of course, the big difference between Côte de Beaune, Côte de Nuit up north and the Beaujolais area. Because it's 100%, of course, it's 100% Gamay. The soils there are very, very poor. Of course, we are not on the clay and chalky soils anymore like we are in Côte de Beaune, Côte de Nuit, or up north in Chablis. But we are in very sandy and granitic soils, so very, very poor. They have very low organic matters inside. And they really pair very well with the Gamay, because Gamay tends to be very productive unless it is planted on very, very poor soils, and that's the case in the Gamay. So it's very difficult to plant something on those soils, those pink soils. They have nearly nothing to feed the grapes, nothing to feed the vineyard, and so the Gamay in those conditions reduces its yield, and the quality of the fruit is really coming from this. We are now in Brouilly, which is the southernmost and most extensive cru of the Beaujolais, and it is surrounding another cru du Beaujolais, which is Côte de Brouilly. Here we're going to vinify the Gamay with again a specific technique, which is a semi-carbonic technique.
Which is very traditional in Beaujolais region.
Exactly, very traditional. So we're going to really cut the grapes, keep them full bunch, and do everything to keep the original fruitiness of the Gamay. This means that the vinification will take place with whole bunch, so full cluster, and inside fermentation will occur inside the berry to create this very, very fresh fruit character, very, very open fruity character. So that's the case here. We've got some hints of cherry, of strawberry, of black fruit as well. So that's really an open basket of fresh summer fruit.
Right.
And in the mouth, it's very, very refined tannins. So that's one of the characteristics of wines made with a semi-carbonic maceration. Very refined tannins, very easy to drink. We are really speaking of drinkability. Again, it's very, very nice with on itself, but also with meat. It could be meat, hamburgers, or very, very easy food, and it's really pairing very well.
Yes, even with white fish,
Yeah,
just grilled.
yeah, because it's really light, very fleshy. Again, you'll see the tannins are very, very silky, very fleshy, and so it's so easy to drink. I'm sometimes opening a bottle with my wife, and I think, it's most of the time it's going like this because it's so easy to drink.
Yeah.
This is what we call the drinkability.
Yes. I think
Very often we talk about sapidity, drinkability, but sometimes we have the question, what is drinkability? So drinkability is, for us at Albéric Bichot, when you have finished your glass, you want another one. Huh? This is drinkability.
Yeah.
that is.
Maybe the most important thing in the wine. If you
I
want
feel-
more,
Yes.
it's a good
If
point.
you smile, you
Yes.
can take another one. Yes.
And that's a perfect example of what we can do with a gamay. We can do things super extracted, like a little bit like Moulin à Vent. So we also produce a Moulin à Vent in our estate, the Domaine de Roche. So more on the structure, on the richness, more for long-term aging. But in that case, that's really fruit-driven, fruit-oriented. Really easy, and it's ready to drink now. Even it's very young, it's really made to be drunk now. So from now and during all the summer.
Right. Moreover, probably you have seen it already in the US. The Beaujolais wines are more and more famous. They are regaining their respectability. Of course, Beaujolais and Beaujolais Village, but maybe more for the cru du Beaujolais, like you said, Brouilly, Moulin à Vent, Morgon. And just one more detail before we pass to the other wine. This Brouilly, on the label, it's written Brouilly Roche Rose. It means the pink rock.
Pink, yeah.
Because really, where we pick the grapes of this wine, the soil is really pink.
Yes.
And it is sandy, for sure. It's a kind of sand from the rock of the millennium ago.
Yeah.
But it's pink. It's pink.
Yes, it is very, very special. I will add, I don't know the word in English, but to translate, but a wine with a lot of chair, de la chair.
Flesh, yeah.
Fleshy.
correct.
Fleshy.
Impressed.
Then, next.
Yes, after Gamay Pinot Noir. So, sorry. Oop. That is from Mercurey. So Mercurey, the appellation, more than 80% is red wine. You have
So
white
the
wine.
name is Mercurey. I insist because sometimes you can hear or listen Mercury. No, it's
No,
not
no.
Mercury. It's Mercurey.
In French, yes. Yes, in Burgundy, yes, it is Mercurey. So Mercurey is mainly for red wines. You have white wines, which are very interesting too. And this vineyard, Pierre Milley, is located on West Exposition. It's not so bad, on the slope. In some part of these plots, you have a lot of marble. Yes, marble. It's very, it gives some typicity from that Mercurey. In general, that vineyard, we have to take care not to produce too much because this vineyard can be very generous, so you have to restrict the yields. It's very important for the quality. So, even if we talk about 2021 with low yield, but each year we have to control, even in great vintage. So That wine, when I tasted, I think first thing we have the gamay before, with this fruity style of the gamay. Here you have the fruity style of the Pinot Noir. For me, it's a very good example. It's, as we said, it's drinkable today, or in 2 or 3 years more, no problem. But today it's drinkable. I'm very astonished because they say, yes, it's young, but it's drinkable. I think the balance is very good between the kind of tannins we have. We call it, we have a grain inside, in the grain in the mouth, which is very delicate, elegant. You have it, the structure is good, but not too much. No. So that's why it's drinkable. I think that kind of wine is perfect to drink with chicken or perhaps some dishes which are not too spicy for me. I think you have to respect.
Yeah, because it's not a strong wine. It's really of the
exactly.
elegance.
Elegance is not too strong. It's and it's very, for me, it's very drinkable. Okay, I think the bottle is too small. So
it comes from Domaine Adélie. Right?
Yes, it is.
A very small plot.
2 hectares. 2 hectares.
So it means almost 5 acres.
Yeah.
So you see, it's not big. It's a production of roughly 8,000 bottles a year. But in 21, we produce a maximum of 3,000 bottles. And some are for you.
Yes.
And I think it's really showing the Pinot really well. Again, after the vintage 2020, where Pinot, sometimes we could lose a little bit the sense of what is Pinot. Here, we're back to, I wrote violet, blackcurrant, mint. So you are really in the universe of the Pinot. And I think if I needed to show to someone what is a Pinot of Burgundy, I would definitely show that kind of wine in vintage 21.
Yes.
So it's really open, like you said, Christophe. It's really open. It's ready because of this lighter structure. The tannins are not rustic. They are polished again with some silkiness, and it's to me that's really ready to drink.
Yeah, I think so. It's not. We can talk about for me density, but intensity, which is different, as I said. Intensity because you feel, and yes, you have it. Okay, you want. It's not very concentrated. Okay, that's not the problem. But all the feeling you have are very intense.
Yes.
That is so simple. That's why I appreciate it.
Mathieu,
yes, back to Beaune.
Pommard Clos de l'Hermitage.
Beaune, Clos de l'Hermitage.
It was a test.
Okay.
It's a Beaune, of course. But Clos de l'Hermitage is very close to Pommard. This is the introduction, you see.
Yeah, so just next to us, we are just 2-3 minutes drive from here on the hill of Beaune that are facing the east. East exposure. So Beaune is a quite big area. Nearly a bit more than 800 acres in total, with mainly red wine and a little bit of white wines. Our Beaune Premier Cru Clos des Mouches from Domaine du Pavillon is coming from this section of Beaune. This wine is an interesting one. It's located really at the top of the hill. So that's where the altitude is between 330 and 340 meters high, and really located on the bedrock itself. So just below, we have our Clos des Mouches, which is planted in white, where you've got some nice white marls with quite stony character, but really at the top, Montagne Saint-Désiré, that's really at the upper section. The bedrock is here, so it's again very poor, and you've got, of course, lower yields in general, but also the altitude that will make a difference. Even in a cooler vintage like 2021, you've got very refined notes and aromatic profile, and again the shulkiness and the bedrock never gives some very big structural wine. So again, it's a wine of pleasure. It's a wine of a lot of silky character. It's to me, it's got some, of course, some red fruit like the Mercurey could have, but also some plum, a bit of kirsch, a little bit of fruit with alcohol.
Really, the cherry.
Yeah, cherry
Red,
character.
black cherry.
Yeah, so you've got a little bit more complexity on this that gives it, again, it's another dimension of the Pinot.
No, Mathieu, you are talking about altitude. When we talk about 340 meters, for you, it doesn't make sense. But for us, it's very important. Most of the vineyards in the bottom of the hills, they are at an average altitude of 160 meters compared to the sea. But for us, between 160 and 340, it's huge in terms of temperature, of windy condition,
exactly.
of exposure to the sun. So it makes, when you are in altitude, most of the time you have more freshness.
A bit more acidity.
Yes, better acidity.
Yeah.
And so it's really beautiful. The
Crispiness.
Crispiness. The mouth here has some roundness again. It's not a full-bodied wine because of the structure of the bedrock near to it, and it's got some lovely roundness. I like the oakiness also. Of course, it's aged in oak, so it's got a very well integrated oakiness. So it's showing very well already,
I think so.
even if it's very young.
I have to add that I have great pleasure to walk around in this area. It's a wonderful area.
Yes, it's one of the best area because it's close to Pommard, and I live in Pommard, so of course this is the best place.
Yes, I understand.
Sorry, we didn't mention it. Sorry.
I'm very objective.
I forget it.
All right.
So after Côte de Beaune, we go to Côte de Nuit with Vosne-Romanée from Domaine du Clos Frantin. So if Vosne-Romanée is well known perhaps for the most famous Grand Cru from the Côte de Nuit, you have some village in Vosne-Romanée which are very consistent, give you consistent and refined wine. And I think the example from the Beaune is typical like that, because you have it's a punchy wine at the beginning. Even with the 2021, I am surprised because, yes, it's very punchy. And I have to explain, it's come from two different plots. You have one plot which is called Mézières, Basse-Mézières, near Clos, with a heavy soil, a deep and heavy soil. And the other place is called Les Damodes. Les Damodes is just up Les Malconsorts. And the soil, that plot is completely different from Mézières. You are on the rock. The rock is not far away from. So it can explain two different vineyards. But what we appreciate a lot, it is the mix of each. Each one can bring something different. And you have more complexity with both. And in general, Basse-Mézières give you the structure, the basic structure, and the length and the complexity comes from Damode. But even it's a very punchy wine. I like it. It's I think it's always drinkable.
Already?
Yes, I am. But I think in 3-5 years more, you will have something different. But it's drinkable, punchy. And I would say what impressed me is the quality of the tannins. In fact, that is they are succulent for me, balanced, run. You have them, but you don't feel them, and that is very interesting for me. That's why it gives you a drinkability too.
No edge at all in the tannins.
Yeah.
Soft, relatively silky,
No.
and you feel already the power of Vosne-Romanée.
Yeah, I think so.
With the black pepper, white pepper aspects.
Yeah, white pepper. It's nearly on the green side. The mean character. I like the energy. So maybe that's the Damode part that gives this tension, and you've got this roundness from the inside. And again, it's so easy. It's not tiring at all.
I think
It's true that it's a little bit minty.
It is, yes.
Once you have swallowed, you can breathe.
Yes,
you feel the mint.
Exactly. It gives you freshness. That's the kind of things you can find something in some Clos Bougeot, for example, but it gives you freshness. It gives you balance with the punch of the wine, and Mathieu, you're right. Energy, the word energy, completely.
Christophe, our two different plots, which are blended, all together, the total surface.
Nearly 1 hectare. So in general, in great vintage, we produce
4,000 bottles,
6,000 in great vintage. But in 2021, it was less, half.
Half of it.
Yes,
half of it.
Right. And Mézières and Damaude is nearly 50-50.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when we drink this kind of Vosne-Romanée, we understand why La Romanée-Conti, La Tâche, Richebourg is in this location.
Yeah. You have Grand Cru, but you have great village in Vosne-Romanée too.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a must-have with a refinement, with a very clean and pure fruit, nice expression. So very interesting.
No? I don't spit this one, you see. For us, you see, it's 7 p.m., so it's time for us to have the aperitif.
Yes.
So if you agree, if you have any question, please do not hesitate to type on the chat. In front of us, you can't see, but we have Lucas and Julie. They are behind their computer. Lucas, do we have already a question? It's on the way. It's on the way.
Oh, it's perfect. So
about our distribution. Okay. So it's more a commercial question. So most of our wines are distributed, are sold in restaurants, hotels, and specialized wine shops. In terms of, sorry, I read from far. Yes, the French market for us is the best, the biggest market, as it represents for us 30% of our sales, but besides 70% are exported. And I can tell you, and we are proud to say that the American market is now #1 market, thanks to all our efforts and all our, I could say, if you agree, all our love to your country and our dedicated team that probably some of you know already. The Albéric Bichot team, we have 10 fantastic people based in the US. They are there for your service if they can help you. Some of them, they are online, I know, so don't ask bad questions. No, there is no bad questions, only bad answers.
yes.
Lucas, another question?
How is the 2022 vintage looking so far right now?
So how is the 2022 vintage? At first, the conditions, sanitary conditions?
Oh, perfect. No problem. I will say it's a vintage to smile, especially when you have the 2021 before. That was very pleasant. And early vintage, as usual. Balance. We have a good quantity. It's not excessive, but we have good quantity.
Let's say
Yes.
normal.
Yes, yes, normal for especially if you compare with last vintage. Balance. The aging is too early to have an idea, but the aging, yes, it's prometteur. What we say.
A lot of promise in
Yes.
this vintage.
I think so. Pleasant, perhaps. Less concentrated than the 2020. Yes, less color, but elegant too. A pleasant vintage.
And it's showing very well in both colors. So
yes,
in both colors we have nice balances. Again, it's a warm vintage. Again, I would say but the balances are nice. White wines are I've got some roundness, some fleshy character, but some nice acidity. So it was a good surprise. And the reds, like you said, Christophe, they are not as massive as the 2020 could be. So I would say it's a little bit in between 20 and 21 we just had. So they really look beautiful. Aging are still taking place now. We are not bottling yet, except some, for example, Aligoté. But it's really, good results are really expected. And you said, the yields make us smile. We are back to something more normal. So in terms of allocation, we would be able to give you more allocation on this.
Question.
A question from Alex. What is the biggest difference on vineyard management that was easier because of organic farming with facing climate change?
Because all we practice in organic viticulture is to take care about the plants, the vines. And we know that the risk is more important against disease, etc., to protect. So we have to take care more, and we have to take care more small details like life in soil first, the relation between the vines and the soil, what we call mycorrhizae, things like that. And mycorrhizae is very important to help the vines to against some disease, or to adapt to the climate, the change of the climate. So all that small techniques, which are some small details perhaps, but together very important, and that's why I think the plants will be more able to adapt to the soil for dryness, we can't prevent the sea to go on, okay? But some dryness, some wetness, some frost difficult, but why not? I don't know. But it's the challenge today is to adapt with very frequent and difficult event and very excessive event. So I think the plant will be more able.
Another question from Dominic. What are your top 3 favorite wines today?
The top 3 favorite wines today to drink.
Good question. To me, Brouilly. Of course, Brouilly. Right now, Brouilly.
The top 3 wine within the 6.
Yeah, I think so. That's the question within the 6. Yeah, Brouilly would be the first one. I really enjoyed Fourchaume myself. And Vosne-Romanée. I really like this. This focus, this brilliant acidity. Well, very difficult to choose.
Yes,
Montaigne
it's difficult
Saint-Désiré was great, but
between a white wine and red wine, I will say I do agree. All for me, all that wine are very drinkable. First,
yes,
that is consistent for all of them. To have more pleasure with one from against another, I don't know. Even I like Aligoté for me. Simple, friendly wine. Okay. But that's true that I appreciate a lot Brouilly for the share consistency and Vosne-Romanée. That's true. That's true.
I think we've got a question about the labeling. I think when will be the labeling issue in the States? So we had this question already. So the new labels will come into the States between now and this summer. So the big efforts we've done on the labeling, redesigning the labeling, and all the boxes as well. This will come into the United States, so beginning this summer. So it's been a very big work. So thank you for asking. It's been a very big work, big change for us as well, and it will be soon. So come after the formal label. Of course, you will find the same kind of design. You will feel at home, but with something a bit more modern, and all the aspects of environmental things that are going to come with.
Another question, Luca, yes?
What vintage does the 21 vintage most compare to?
Every vintage is unique,
yes,
for sure.
Sure. Sometimes you can remember one or a mix of different. 21 difficult with the frost for the low quantity. Long time we have not that quantity. For the evolution, perhaps the pleasure, consistency, perhaps even it's different. 17, perhaps fresh, elegant, drinkable, balance,
Yeah.
perhaps.
17 perhaps, maybe a bit of 13 as well, a little bit of 13 on the refined tannins and silkiness of the tannins. Not very big structure, but some length. So more of this kind of cooler vintages. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. That is.
Yes, Luca?
When are you coming to visit the US?
You know already when you go.
Yeah, so I'm going to be the next, I think, it's the first week of May. So I'll be traveling with the Bichot teams from East Coast to West Coast and finishing in Las Vegas to play a bit of game.
Personally, I will be there next October, mainly in New York area, New York State, Washington State, probably Boston. Christophe, any plan to go there?
After.
No, of course, we miss you, and if we could have enough time to travel to meet you, it would be, of course, a great pleasure. But I take this occasion you give me to invite you, if you have any occasion, any possibility to come to France, to Burgundy. Don't forget the strikes in Burgundy, in France. All what you have seen on TV, it's true, but not only that.
Not only.
No, everything is okay. And, no, it's so important to understand Burgundy. Once you have put your feet in the soil, you have walked around the hills. You have seen, you had the feeling of the air. You have seen the different colors of the soil. You will much more integrate or understand why the wines are so different from this part to another part. And psychologically, it makes things very different.
I
So
think so.
you have already this in the glass,
Yeah.
but if you can have this in your eyes, it would be a paradise
Yes,
for us
and,
to welcome
yeah,
you.
the feeling,
So
yeah.
anytime, any possibility you could have, let us know. Let know our US team, and we'll do our best to welcome you as you deserve.
A question from Sarah. When should I show up to help with the harvest?
It's a bit early to say now, but you should plan around mid-September if everything looks normal. Otherwise, sometimes make a plan B end of August, because it's more and more the case. But yeah, it should be mid-September.
So Sarah, if you want to come and pick the grapes, you are welcome.
Yeah.
Let us know in July if you are free. And
Yes,
we will give you
yeah.
more ideas of when we will start. But let's say normally we start around the 15th of September.
Yes, you have a more precise idea when you have the flowering. Okay,
Right.
with the rules of nearly 100 days after the flowering, you have a more precise idea of the date of the harvest. So, but today is too early.
Yeah, and of course, we harvest everything by hand. So it's more than 250 people we are hiring during this period. So if you've got 2 arms more, please come.
Come.
Please
Yeah,
come.
the ambiance is great.
Yeah.
I think so.
So apparently there is no more questions. So I hope you enjoyed this moment with us, this moment of sharing. It's always difficult to talk to you through a screen, through microphones, but we try to do our best for that. So thank you very much for your time you spent with us, for your support when you drink our wines, when you sell our wines. So we wish you a good time, very good time in drinking our wines. We wish you all the best. We do hope one day we could see you in the US, or to welcoming you, of course. And we need you. We love you, and we think of you. Life is short, but the wines are not short. So cheers to you.
Yeah.
Santé. Bye-bye to
Bye-bye.
you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.